this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com. I wanted to go through a video for you on how to decrease the pressure in your back. So, after we wake up and we get moving and doing our things, work and living, etc., the pressure ends up increasing in our back. So as we stand, going from lying to standing to sitting to getting into awkward postures when it comes to being on the computer or in the work, we end up having an increase in that pressure in the spine. Now, a lot of people end up benefiting with that pressure being relieved. And one way of doing that ends up being traction. So a light pulling in the low back in order to decrease that pressure in the back. A lot of people end up benefiting from it, and different ways of getting that traction or light pull in the back. It could end up being, you could end up going to a therapist, and the therapist could pull on your legs or on your upper body in order to decrease that pressure in the back. You could end up going to a therapist again, and they hook you up to a machine, and that machine lightly pulls you in the hips and low back, or it could end up pulling you in the upper body in order to offload that pressure in the back. What was popular in the 80s, and it's kind of coming back when it comes to this rise in CrossFit, is those inversion tables. So where you strap yourself up to a table and you flip yourself around upside down, and then you end up getting traction throughout that low back area. Now, if you've had that traction and you've gotten benefit from that, I'm going to go through some things that you can end up doing on your own when it comes to relieving that pressure in the back, especially from sitting for a long period of time. Now, if you've had traction and it hasn't worked for you, or it's irritated things, I would recommend not to do these exercises. But I would say, from my experience, about 80% of people will end up benefiting from some kind of traction in their back. And the key thing to remember, and I'll go through it when it comes to the exercise, I'll end up giving you 4 progressions when it comes to the exercises. So I like starting off light and progressing more, progressing harder, progressing even more. And going lightly, you'll see if you'll end up getting a benefit from the exercise and no adverse reaction to the exercise. And then we can progress more and more to get more and more benefit from the exercise. So start off with level 1 and work your way to level 4. And if you get to level 4 and you really like this stuff, then the next step ends up being some self-traction, which there's options that you can end up doing in the gym, which I'll go through in another video, or you can end up doing the inversion table. Now, let me show you the 4 progressions that you can end up doing from sitting. So if you end up sitting for a long period of time, you can offload that pressure in the back by simply, sitting with good posture. So with good posture, we end up having 90s everywhere. So foot, ankle, knee, hip at 90, knee, hip, upper body, shoulder at 90. And then what I'm going to do is palms forward, and I'm just going to reach for the sky and relax. I'm just going to end up reaching for the sky and relax. I can incorporate breathing, so I take 1 breath in and reach for the sky. So palms forward, breath in, and back down. And I'm looking at doing 5 repetitions. I'm not going crazy with this. That's 4. Number 5. So I'm using my upper body muscles in order to relieve that pressure in the low back. So that ends up being option number 1. So I end up doing it sitting. Now moving on to option number 2. I'm going to step back a little bit more. And with this option, what I'm going to end up doing is, now I'm in standing, I'm going to have those palms once again facing forward, and I'm gonna reach up for the sky and relaxing. I can just start with that reaching up for the sky, and then I can add a breath as well. That breath in. That's 3. That's 4. And that ends up being 5. And then I can see how that ends up feeling. If that ends up feeling better, worse, or the same. And what I want to do is end up building on better. So for me, my back ends up feeling better when I do that exercise. Now the third one ends up being, now I end up changing the shoulder position and the hand position. So I'd have the hands facing forward, and then now what I'm going to end up doing is externally rotating that shoulder. So I'm opening up the shoulder, and then I'm externally rotating that shoulder. So I'm externally rotating. Now my hands are facing each other, but more importantly, it's the shoulder that's opening up. So I'm opening up, now I'm reaching. Hands forward. Shoulders in a good position, reaching. So third time, I'm gonna add that breath. Fourth time, shoulders in a good position, breathing in. And fifth time. And now with putting the shoulder into a good position, I bring in more lats or latissimus dorsi, which is a huge muscle in that back area. So it can end up helping when it comes to that traction in the back. Now you check to see how the back ends up feeling. Does it end up feeling better, worse, or the same? We want to build on better. Now, if it ends up being the same, you can check to see if you've done the exercise correctly. Go back, make sure you've done the technique right. If there's still no change, it's not any better, there's no change, you don't need to do the exercise. If it ends up making it worse, so if there's any irritation or pain, and if it's minor, step back, make sure you have the technique right. If that doesn't improve the irritation or light pain, then discontinue the exercise. Now with level 4, this ends up being, I call this raising the roof. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to bring the hands like I'm raising the roof, and they're pushing up and back. So they're coming up, I'm reaching back, and I'm taking that breath in. And then again, roof, reaching back, and breath in. That's 2. Hands reaching back. And then I can see better, worse, or the same. For me, it ends up feeling better. With each of them, it ends up getting better. Because my body likes that traction, and it also ends up liking that arching, and with each one it ended up feeling better in my back. So there you go. Give that exercise a go. Pick the right progression that works for you, what level works for you, and I recommend you go from level 1 and then work your way to level 4. And just end up doing 5 repetitions. You can increase to 10. You can do this a number of times throughout the day. I would say under 5. So 1 through 5 times a day. Do not end up doing it 50 times a day, because then you kind of pass that threshold of the exercise being beneficial and helpful to it being irritating, painful, and causing re-injury. So there you go. If you haven't been at exercisesforinjuries.com, swing by, enter in your pain or injury. There's a good chance that I have a video or an article there for you. Secondly, if you're watching this on YouTube, head up above, hit subscribe. What that'll end up doing is subscribing you to my YouTube channel, meaning every couple days you'll end up getting a video like this where I end up chatting about a variety of injuries and pain, plus interviewing, my other fitness professional friends, or end up having special videos from my other fitness friends from around the world. And then lastly, head down below, hit like, and leave me a comment or a question when it comes to your injury or pain. So this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com saying take care and bye-bye.